and welcome to the H.E.R Network on Zingo TV channel 251. Please remember to download both the Barn Burner and Zingo TV app in their respective store on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. Super important. And best thing about it, both apps are free and readily available. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Fire TV sticks. Roku sticks, also on smart TVs in 2016 forward. So welcome to my show today. As I said before, my name is Tiana Rose. And I'll give you guys a little bit of a background introduction to me. I kind of want this to be like a community, a family, somewhere where like literally everyone can feel safe. You can kind of share trials, tribulations. And I'll be bringing on different guests that range from a bunch of things that I'm very interested in. I love fashion. I love sports. I'll try to keep the political stuff to a minimum just because it's literally like bombarded everywhere. But and the culture, like just music and things like that. I am a new mom. I do have a little boy. His name is Patrick, and he is almost 9 months. So kind of sharing my trials and tribulations with learning how to become a new mom and balancing life um, in entirety and going back to work, kind of and doing this all through a pandemic. There's so many different tips and tricks that I've been able to kind of garner so far around the way, and also having great mentors and other moms to kind of guide me and just enlighten me, and I think share positivity that you're not alone in this. So today I do want to talk a little bit about the NBA season. So basketball for me has always been like my sacred safe space. Now, as a kid, growing up, I'm 5'2". I was never like the best basketball player, but my passion for the sport always drove me and led me to so many great places. So with the end of the season this year, with Lakers obviously won, and it was such a great season. Although it was super condensed and super compressed, it was still dope to kind of still have that and still be able to kind of garner some form of what real life is. Although right now with the way how the world is and how we're living, I'm in North America, but I'm sure there's all people from all of you from all around the world. But just seeing like how we've had to modify our lives, people have had to change their jobs, etc. It's just having that place where you can turn on the television and you can zone out for those 4 quarters. Basketball bar none has done that for me, especially having a baby. My whole goal was to watch March Madness. I was home already. I didn't have to take any time off of work. And all of a sudden, basketball's done. That was like the craziest Wednesday ever. I was like, once the NBA season was over, that's when I realized it hit. Like, oh my gosh, the world's changing. So, anyways, the NBA season is supposed to be coming back. They say December 22nd, which is dope because I don't know about you, but with Christmas Day game is probably like one of my favorite days. You know, you wake up, get some brekkie. And those of you who celebrate Christmas, those of you who don't, I'm sure you still love the fact that you have basketball from 12 a.m. right until 11 o'clock at night. So I'm sure a lot of us can enjoy that. But there is a bit of apprehension just because there isn't as much time between the end of the season and then the start up in the 22nd. Now, the thing is, the NBA is a profitable enough league where they can manage to not have fans. But I'm sure, as what the NFL has done, there's certain stadiums where you can have fans. I know the Arrowhead, where the Kansas City Chiefs play, they do have some fans. Even for the World Series, they also had fans out in Texas. So it'll be interesting to see economically if it makes logical sense. I know they do have to work out the NBPA agreement with the players just to see, because it is going to be a shortened season by about 10 games. How are their salaries affected? Now you have players like James Harden who have huge contracts, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. That's just to name a few, or Giannis Antetokounmpo if he even stays in Milwaukee. But how are they going to modify those contracts and ensure the salaries are still met? Now, my thing is, we all know, like in certain markets, like for example, the Raptors, after we winning our championship, or not even the last 3-4 years, ticket prices have increased significantly. Same thing with New York. New York doesn't have to win a goddamn thing. And guess what? The ticket prices are still astronomical. So if we're not having those ticket sales, those alcohol sales, vendors, etc., what are they going to really be relying on more? With the MLB, the baseball hats and like the baseball jerseys are a huge focal point for baseball in regards to sales outside of the stadium. It's kind of a cultural thing. Even if you don't watch baseball, you still wear fitteds, right? So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of make that work and kind of keep the arenas up, keep them going. it doesn't seem that there's going to be any concerts anytime soon. I know they're doing drive-in concerts here. But actually, you know what? In parts of the states, like they're still having parties in New Jersey, Atlanta's having parties, Vegas is having parties. So it's weird. Like there's like two different sides of the stick when it comes to the pandemic. It's like on one side, there's people who are like deathly afraid, paranoid, extremely stressed. They've either lost jobs, you know, like there's people that are like destitute right now. Like, and I'm so thankful that I'm not in that position, but my heart goes out to everyone who's going through that because it's not easy, especially if you have children, dependents, and a mortgage and all those things. But then on the other flip of the coin, there's people that are like, okay, this is happening. We don't really see an end in sight, you know, and as much as everyone's talking about these vaccines and whatnot, a lot of people aren't too sure about it. So I think people are kind of just saying like, so it's survival of the fittest. So, and they don't want to pause their lives anymore. They're tired of stopping their lives. And in North America, we're super privileged where a vast majority of humans here are able to live a very pretty comfy, cozy life. Yes, we do work way too much. Like the 9 to 5 hustle is, it's crazy here. I wish we kind of adopted some of the European vibes, but same time, it's like, okay, what are we going to do? Now, my thing is, if the NBA season does come back again in Christmas, right? And then they play straight through till June. Now, when are we going to have, like, there has to be a point when fans can come to the games, or they have to do like outdoor viewing parties. They have to do something, especially in Toronto. Like, they don't even want the Raptors to play at Air Canada Center. The Jays weren't able to play here this year. They weren't able to play at the Rogers Center. And it's like, man, like that's such a big part of like my lifestyle is going to sporting events. And I know I sound like I'm just being a crybaby, a little spoiled brat, but it's like those are the things in life that make you happy, right? I feel like a lot of us have had to search internally right now and figure out how do I make myself happy without all the things that I've known to use to make myself happy, whether it be being around large groups of friends, whether it be going to parties and events with live DJs, you know, like you've had to totally reform your life. So I just hope that the Canadian government does something in the sense where they allow the Raptors to play. I don't think they're probably going to allow fans in because of, I guess, the numbers right now, but they need to do something. Like the fans, we need it. Like kids need it. There's kids stuck at home every single day doing homework. Like you're stuck with your parents all day. I don't want to be stuck with my parents all day. Like as a kid, imagine being like 10 and then you're just there and your mom's like barking at you to do your schoolwork and then you're finished school and then she's still there. Like that's annoying. So yeah, I think we need some outlets here, especially in Toronto. Like the weather's cold. Like once it gets chilly, like the chill hits you and it bites you, and you're just like, oh my gosh. So it's like I just hope that there's something. And you know what's crazy too? If you look at the NHL, you have 7 Canadian teams. So you're telling me they're going to relocate all 7 Canadian teams to the States? I don't think so. I don't see that happening. Like, how are you going to find 7 different stadiums, or unless you pair them with another hockey team and then they share the arenas? But at the end of the day, North America is like greed is the first and foremost thing. There's only so like, and there aren't many. Like there's some like hockey teams that cannot afford to run without fans, right? Like. So it's like, how are they? I don't know. Like, it's weird. It's like you're trying to balance greed and health. Like the NFL, although like it's a little reckless of how they're doing it in the sense of, it's literally like every week there's a COVID case. Games are getting rescheduled, whatever. But I think at the end of the day, for them, they're like, we know we can't control it. It's completely out of our hands. We can do things to the best of our abilities, but the game's got to go on. And they're still playing a regular season. Yes, they cut out the preseason, but it's like, should the NBA and the NHL adopt that? Same with baseball. Baseball has some time because really and truly, spring training is not until what, like end of February, March. So they have some time, but are we being naive thinking as though, pardon me, drinking this kombucha, are we naive to think that things are going to be better next year? You know, like literally, like, are we naive to think that 2021 is going to be that much of a difference from 2020? So it's interesting. And even from my perspective as a new mom, like I wasn't able to kind of do all the mom groups that I wanted to do. Thank God I have a really solid social base, but I'm sure like there's people out there who have been stuck home, or who have been like too scared to leave with their child. They don't want to get sick. They haven't seen their grandparents and whatnot. I've been fortunate enough that my family all lives really close to me, but I couldn't imagine like not being able to see family, not being able to see friends. Like as humans, like psychologically, like you need to touch, you need to break bread with one another. And although we can do as much as we can via the internet and like social media, and like there's so many technological advances which are happening, which is great. There's still some form of connection there, but the connection of hand to hand, human to human, literally it's just being together, that does so much for you. And like I'm pretty sure like that releases endorphins to some degree. So I don't know. I just hope that people are like able to connect. And even if it's from 6 feet away, like I remember in the beginning of the pandemic, I would take a walk with my son up to my best friends and like we'd be like 6 feet apart. But at the same time, we still had that, we were still able to reason with one another and still like, I don't know if being close is the right term, but you know what I mean? Like, do you feel me? I hope you feel me. Also, you guys just want to let you know my name on social media is obviously T Rose, for short form for Tiana Rose. You can always follow me at Essential T, so Essential and then capital TEE. So it's like I'm essential to your everyday lives. Get it? Get it? Cool. But yeah, no, I want to have fun with this show. I really want to be able to kind of like show you guys different things that I'm into, like exercising. I'm going to bring on some personal trainers because that has been a huge, huge, huge help for me during this pandemic, especially after having a child. You look at yourself and you're like, oh my God, my clothes don't fit. They still don't fit. But, you know, getting outside and being active. And I also want lots of feedback from you guys. Like, what do you want to hear me talk about? Like, you know, but I will dive into some music right now because that has been a huge, huge, huge benefit for me during this pandemic. So I'm a hip hop fan on my core, but reggae and dancehall for me, like reggae is like my heart. Like reggae is like my foundation, and everything's like a pillar. It just builds from there, builds from there. But coming from West Indian background, music was always around, always playing. Someone was always a DJ in my family, so having that backbone through the beginning stages, like the first 3 months of like March to June, like that saved my mind. That literally saved my mind. But I've actually been feeling a few albums really heavy toward this past couple months. I don't know if you guys are into like Benny the Butcher. Benny the Butcher is actually a rapper, and he's part of the Griselda Records team out of Buffalo. And typically they have this like the group of them, they have this like Wu-Tang kind of feel. You know, like it's not the same sound, but it's still like, I like to call it mature not even contemporary hip hop, like mature hip hop, but like it has that underground feel and that underground sound. So typically they always go to the same producers and they have a very distinct sound, like whether it be Conway or when it be Benny the Butcher, like you hear the sound of the music and you know exactly who it is. But with Benny's latest project, he actually worked with Hit Boy. Hit Boy has been shooting threes all year. I don't know what it was. I don't know if Hit Boy had like a resurgence or he's been making beats for the past 2-3 years and was like, okay, ready? Boom, man, like album. He did Nas's album, King's Disease. Now that album has like, it's more of he has a lot of R&B undertones and subtleties to it, which I love. Like for me, that's everything. But then also, he's also worked with Big Sean on his last album. His album that just came out not too recently, about a month ago. It's called Detroit 2. Now, Detroit 2 it's such a unique sound in the sense of, because Big Sean's kind of in that J. Cole stage as a middle child. Like I remember going to see Big Sean down at Government. This is before they shut down Government. For those who know, you know. If you don't know, you missed out. But Government was the best. Now there's condos, but you know, that's how it goes. But yeah, so I remember seeing him when I was like 14. So now I'm 26. That's 12 years ago. So Big Sean is in that middle child phase where he's not part of the youngs, and he's not part of the big bands like Jay-Z, you know, Nas, like Busta Rhymes. Like he's right in the middle. But the way how they've constructed the album, the way how they put it together, and like they have amazing features. Like he has a track with Post Malone. He has a track with Anderson .Paak, Wale. Oh my goodness, there's a song called Guard Your Heart. And Guard Your Heart comes in so simple, and like on the keys, it's just beautiful. But the way how they arrange the song, Anderson .Paak on the chorus, and then Wale's verse is so politically strong. And Wale, one thing I love about Wale is always himself. He's always forthright, direct, and he's punny. You know, when someone can use words and be super witty and keep it 100 with you, that's a talent that not everyone has. Not every rapper has, and for that I can appreciate that. And same thing with Big Sean. Like Big Sean touches on different topics like health, just like love, relationships, social media, and just talking about like the strength of his team. And I think like those strength records, like Wolves, banger, and like the beats bang. So when you're in the car and you're listening to it, you're just like you're vibing. Or even when you're working out, like right now is so important to kind of create the sound that you want your brain to function on, especially because there's so much negativity like on the news, like everywhere around us. It's just something like negative at this point. And that's not life, right? Like you have to balance positive with negative. But at the same time, if you can kind of alter your brain frequency and be putting in positivity and like being enlightened, and like you're operating at a different brainwave, and what you're putting out into the universe is going to be so much more. I feel like it's coming from a place of love, and like not love like, oh, I love this person, but you're coming from a place of like there's clarity, there's empathy, and there's just no negative vibes. There's no negative energy. And that's the most important thing, right? So yeah, that album, you guys definitely need to check that out. Detroit 2, bangers. Back to Benny the Butcher. So one of my favorite songs on that album is a song called We're Gonna Make It. And he features Queen Naija on it. And literally, for some reason, I don't know, like I've watched her YouTube before, but I've never like taken the time to actually listen to her music. And I listened to the track, and I was like, and the way how she came in on the hook was very, very reminiscent of like Ashanti, like back in the early 2000s. Like I heard it and I was like, oh, you sound like Ashanti. But like it was like the perfect feature for that song. And like he's just talking about like, he's like, I was raised by a woman, so shout out to single mothers. And like that's literally how he starts off the track, but like just kind of paying homage to everything he's been through, like, you know, incarceration, you know, poverty and all those things. And to be honest with yourself and honest with your craft as a actual lyricist, and not just like a play games type of rapper, and to make it, that's huge for me. Because now it's like if you're not having the poppy or like that like like that trap sound, it's like you're not really making it right now, hip hop. But they did it their own way. Griselda, they're forced to be reckoned with. I feel like Griselda's kind of like the new Rockefeller in the sense of that they work so hard. They're constantly putting out projects, and they have a roster of artists who are hungry and determined, and they're coming for it. And I love that. So that's the thing. Like getting into music has, as I said before, paramount for me. And I'd love for you guys to share certain albums with me, because like as I said before, music is the soundtrack to my life. And you know, during this pandemic that we're living through, these are the albums that I'm gonna remember, like, you know, 10 years down the line, like, oh my gosh, when I hear a song off Big Sean's album or Nas's album or Benny's album, it's like I remember exactly where I was. My baby was only like less than 1 year old. This is where my headspace was at the time, and this is how the song made me feel. And the one thing I can try to share with you guys that I believe is so important is like, take care of how you feel. And, you know, it's okay to not feel happy all the time. And it's okay not to feel excited or motivated. Like what we're living through, who could have predicted this? And it's difficult. And it's so hard, no matter how much it's been 6, 7 months, it's still hard. It is very hard. So taking care of your mental headspace, and don't put pressure on yourself. I think a lot of us have this mindset, and I had it too. Like I had a kid. Okay, now I need to figure out how to start a business. And I'm like, I literally don't even understand being a mom. I'm literally just lost in the sauce, like a big pot of spaghetti sauce. Like, what do I do? You know? But that's the thing. When you take the pressure off of yourself and you're compassionate to yourself and understand that you are a human, and there's room for growth constantly, and you're gonna learn, but some things just take time, right? So allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to grow from those feelings. So I like to journal. I don't do it enough. I should be doing it more, but hey, man, I'm just trying to share the love, right? But yeah, no journaling, no speaking to a therapist. I know, as I said before, it's not face to face right now, but virtually. But just taking the time to understand yourself and like understand where you're at. Like literally, I've never felt so lost in my life. That's honestly, that's the most honest I'll be with you guys. I have no idea what I'm doing after maternity leave. I don't know left from right. And I think me sharing my vulnerability with you guys, like as I said before, let's grow together. Let's be a community. Let's be a family, and let's build. Because there's so many people out there who I know feel the same way. And I think if I can share with you guys exactly how I'm feeling, then why not? I don't want anyone to ever feel alone. I always want this to be a safe space. But last but not least, all you guys will see me next week back here on Zingo TV at 12:30. And I hope you guys kind of get the sense of who I am. That's the most important thing. I want to be authentic with you as much as possible. And I want to grow as a media person, right? Oh my goodness, it's so much fun. But anywho, check out some new music this week. If you guys have any recommendations, I would love for you guys to check out. I use Tidal. I love Tidal. Tidal is actually one of the only platforms that actually gives back money to the engineers, the artists, and the producers. And that's super important because music is not just artists. There's so much more work that goes behind it. But anywho, thank you guys so much for tuning in with me today. You know that this show can be heard on Barn Burner Radio Network on its 122 platforms. So you heard me, 122. The H.E.R Network is part of the Barn Burner Media Network. Please check out barnburner.ca and you can listen and view so much more content. There's so many amazing men and women that are talking about sports, lifestyles, and anything of the sort. And it's a great platform. And you can also check out from all news and programming, from boxing to wrestling to soccer to tennis, everything under the sun. You can find it at barnburner.ca. But yeah, check out Barnburner, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. My name is Tiana Rose. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my show today, Tea Talks. And next week we shall have on a special guest. I'm not going to tell you who yet, but yeah, you can follow my social media, as I said before, at Essential and then capital Tee. And yeah, definitely communicate with me there. And I appreciate you guys all. Anywho, have a good